Good morning, everyone. I am Jessa Biayay,
And I am Janela Tuha.
and today we will be discussing the Module 4, Lesson 2.
Implementing a curriculum daily in the classroom. And now, Miss Jessa will discuss first.
Before we proceed to our discussion, take note of this. A teaching activity is like implementing a minuscule curriculum. A daily lesson is based on a planned or written curriculum, which will be put to action by the teacher in the classroom. Before the lesson ends, the teacher must find out if the students have truly learned. In the Deep Ed Order number 70, series of 2012, stated that the teacher of all public elementary and secondary schools will not be required to prepare daily lesson plans. They may adopt daily lesson logs, which contain the needed information and guide from the teacher guide or TG and teacher manual or TM, reference material with page number, interventions given to the students, and remarks to indicate how many students have mastered the lesson or are needing remediation. However, teachers with less than 2 years of teaching experience shall be required to prepare daily lesson plans, which shall include the following. First, objectives. Second, subject matter. Third, procedure. Fourth, assessment. And 5, assignment. In this Deep Ed order means that all teachers of public elementary and secondary schools will not be required to prepare a daily lesson plans. Instead of they use the daily lesson logs. And however, the teachers with less than 2 years of teaching experience shall be required to prepare a daily lesson plans. Here are the main parts of the lesson plan. First, objectives or intended learning outcomes or ILO. Second, subject matter or SM. Third, procedure or strategies of teaching. Fourth, assessment of learning outcomes or ALO. And last, assignment of agreement. So now we're going to tackle on how we are going to create of these parts of a lesson plan. Here is the first part of the lesson plan. Intended learning outcomes or objectives. These are the desired learning that will be the focus of the lesson. Learning outcomes are based on taxonomy or objectives presented to us as cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Here in the first part of the lesson plan is focusing on the learning outcomes of the students. We are going to create or to make what will be the learning outcomes of the students at the end of the lesson. So it should have cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain. Here is the graph of taxonomy of objectives. In the left side is the Bloom's taxonomy in 1956, and in the right side is the revise of Bloom's by Anderson in 2001. So there are 3 major changes in the reverse taxonomy, which is first, changing the names of the 6 categories from noun to verb. So as you have observed in the Bloom's taxonomy, the names or the levels of cognitive are all noun form, and then in the Anderson revises are all verb form. Then the second is rearranging these categories. As you can see here in the Bloom's, in the higher level of cognitive, which is synthesis and evaluation, while in the Anderson, it rearranges, which is from evaluation is naging creating, and then ang synthesis ay naging evaluate sa kang Anderson revise. Then the last one is establishing the level of knowledge level in the original version. Let's study the cognitive categories with the example keywords verb for each in the new version of Bloom's taxonomy that follow. First is remembering or remembered. So it means recalling facts and basic concepts. The learners will recall or retrieve previous learning information. And the keywords are define, duplicate, list, memorize, repeat, or state, and state. And the second is understanding or understand. Explain ideas or concepts. So it means comprehend meaning, translation, state problem in own words, making meaning. So the keywords are classify, describe, discuss, explain, identify, locate, recognize, report, select, translate. The third one is applying or apply. Use information in new situation. It means use concept in new situation, applies what has been learned in new situation. So the keywords are execute, implement, solve, use, demonstrate, interpret, operate, schedule, sketch. So the fourth one, analyze or analyzing. So it means draw connection among ideas. So separate materials or concepts into component parts so that the organization is clear. Distinguish between facts and inference. So the keywords are differentiate, organize, relate, compare, contrast, distinguish, examine, experiment, question, test. The second to the last part are evaluation. It means justify a stand or decision. So it means making judgment about the value or ideas or materials. So the keywords are appraise, argue, defend, judge, select, support, value, critic, weigh. And the last one, creating or create. It means produce new or original work. So, building a structure or pattern from various elements, put parts together to create a whole, to make new meaning and instruction. So, the keywords are design, assemble, construct, conjecture, develop, formulate, author, investigate. So here are the keywords of each cognitive categories. Here are the levels of knowledge. First is factual knowledge, ideas, specific data or information. So these activities focus on recall and memorization of important data. The second, conceptual knowledge. It means words or ideas known by common name, common features, multiple specific examples which may either be concrete or abstract. Concepts are facts that interrelate with each other to function together. So it means that this activity helps students classify, compare, and relate ideas. The third one, procedural knowledge. It means how things work, step by step actions, methods of inquiry. It means that these activities focus on teaching students how to do something through structured steps. The last one is metacognitive knowledge. So it means knowledge of cognition in general, awareness of knowledge of one's own cognition, thinking about thinking. So these activities help students become aware of their learning strategies and improve their problem-solving skills. Like, for example, think, pair, share. Students think about question, discuss with a partner, and share with us with the class. Take note, students, that intended learning outcomes or ILO should be written in smart way, which is specific, measurable, attainable, result-oriented, or outcomes, and time-bound. So that's all my part, and now we're going to continue in Miss Jaina Latoha.
Next is the subject matter or content. So, comes from a body of knowledge that will be learned through the guidance or the teacher. Subject matter is what in teaching in a plan. This is followed by the reference. So, this is what students will learn. So, it includes the knowledge, topics, and content that will be taught in class. Procedure or methods and strategies. So this is the crux of curriculum implementation, how a teacher will put life to the intended outcomes, and the subject matter to be used depends on this content. So this explains how the teacher will teach the subject, and also the way lessons are delivered depends on the topic, intended results, and teacher's approach. Approaches and methods used for teaching different kinds of learners according to Corpus and Salandanan 2013. So, different students learn in different ways. So, some students learn in listening, in reading, and other do some activities. So, teacher may use various methods to help them understand better and help all students learn. So, and the first is direct demonstration method. It is a guided exploratory discovery approach, inquiry method, problem-based learning, and project method. So, in a teaching strategy where a teacher shows students how to do something, the teacher gives clear and direct instructions so that the students will listen and follow what the teacher says. Third one is deductive or inductive approaches. So, mabibiling dito yung project method, inquiry-based learning. So, in here, the students learn by asking questions and finding answers. So, they explore and discover new things on their own with the teacher's guidance. So, sa project method, then the students working together to research, something like plan, implement a project on a specific project. So, in here, the students learn through hands-on activities or experiential learning. So the other approaches is the blended learning, reflective teaching, integrated learning, outcome-based approach. Next is the three different learning styles of students. So first is the visual. So uses graphs, charts, pictures, tends to remember things that are written in form. So in here, these students learn best by seeing things just like mga pictures, charts, and mga graphs. So they like to remember things between when they read or see them. Second is the auditory recall. Auditory recalls information through hearing and speaking, prefers to be told how to do things orally, learns aloud. So the students learn best by listening. So they remember information when they hear it. So they prefer to be told how to do things instead of reading instructions. So the last one is kinesthetic. So it prefers hands-on approach, demonstrates how to do rather than explains, likes group work with hands-on mind. So dito, the students learn best by doing things, just like they like hands-on activities and working in groups. So they prefer to practice instead of just listening or reading. What is meant by instructional materials or IM? So, instructional materials are those materials used by a teacher to simplify their teachings. They include both visual and audiovisual aids and could either be concrete or non-concrete. These instructional materials bring life to learning by stimulating students to learn. So, instructional materials should complement visual, auditory, and tactile or a combination of three. So, instructional materials are the tools that teachers use to make lessons easier to understand, like mga pictures or mga auditory recordings. Some materials are real objects, so also others are just representation. So IMs can somehow it is a resources used to help students learn and teachers teach. like mga textbook, videos, and graphics organizers. So they can be traditional, digital, or interactive. We have here the cone of learning. It is according to Edgar Dale. And after 2 weeks, we tend to remember. So we have here 10% of what we read in reading. Hearing words is 20%. Seeing is 30%, and 50% of what we see and hear. Like mga watching a movie, looking at an exhibit, watching a demonstration, seeing it done on location. 70% of what we say, like participating in a discussion, giving a talk, or a debate. So, and 90% of what we say and do, doing a dramatic presentation, simulating the real experience, doing the real thing. Methods and materials must implement the plan, taking action. Example number 1. Lesson using basic steps, parts as prescribed by DepEd Order 70, series of 2012 for teachers, 2 years and less in service. This lesson plan will show the basic component of any plan. This can be applied to any subject that follows a generic format. So this means that teachers should use both methods and materials to carry out their lesson plan. For example, a lesson plan for new teachers, so they need to follow the rules set by the Department of Education. So a lesson plan is also a guide that shows what to teach and how to teach it. And we have here the example of our daily lesson plan. Um, it is a subject science. Grade level is grade 6. Makikita nyo sa baba, andyan yung objectives, content standards, performance standards, and the learning competencies, the knowledge, skills, and attitude. Of course, the content. So, yung content namin dito is comparing the planets in the solar system. Andyan sa baba, yung mga learning resources, references, teacher guide pages, learners materials, textbook, and other learning resources. And also, in here, there is the procedures, preliminary activities, and reviewing previous lesson or presenting the new lesson. Here, the motivation, the activities, and discussing new concept and practicing new skills. And ito din is the application of concept or skills in daily living. So, andito papasok yung application. And making generalizations and abstractions about the lesson. And there's the evaluating learning. And last is the additional activities for application or remediation. So, that's all. Thank you.